were saying a while ago you've done some criminal work. Can you tell me a little about that? What sort of?
Oh, I didn't do much, but I taught criminal law, criminal procedures and courses. And I did some, I never did a criminal trial. I did, jury trial. I did, probable cause hearings, other cases. I had some really tough crimes. I had one up here that the prosecutor called me years ago and said that he had a guy who was accused of rape, and the guy wanted a woman lawyer. And I do it as a favor to him.
That's really awesome.
Terrible case. Remember that case where I represented that guy? It was a fascinating case. It was really an interesting case. This guy was accused of raping a 12-year-old who was the daughter of the family he was living in Springfield. They lived on the side of the tracks in Springfield. And the guy was from Green Forest. His family still had a little farm. And he was one of these rootless folks who wasn't going to make a living on the land, and he was kind of around. Ended up in Springfield looking. Another place over there. Of course, he claimed that he didn't. All this stuff. He took a lie detector test. I had to take a polygraph, which he passed, which forever destroyed my faith in polygraphs. But what was sad about it was that the prosecutors had evidence, among which was his underwear.
His what?
His underwear, which was bloody. Sent it down to the crime lab for those efforts to reform the crime lab. Crime lab took a pair of underpants, neatly cut out the part that they were going to test, tested it, came back with the result of what kind of blood it was, what was mixed in with it. Then sent the pants back with the hole in it for evidence. So I got an order to see the evidence, and the prosecutor didn't want me to see the evidence. I had to go to Moffitt Cummings to convince Moffitt that, yes, indeed, I had a right to see the evidence before it was presented. So they presented the underpants with a hole in it. I said, what kind of evidence is that? You've got a pair of underpants with a hole in it. Of course, the crime lab had thrown away the piece that they cut out. It was really, I plea bargained it down because they didn't have any, it turned out they didn't have any evidence. But I happened to be going to New York, and I took the underpants with me. I got special court orders. And I went to Brooklyn, where this man, whose name I now cannot remember, who had shared in the Nobel Prize for his work on the RH factor, and was one of the real premier investigators in the field of blood. He had retired from Sloan Kettering or someplace up there. He still lived in the same house where his father had been born, and now had a huge fence around it. He was sort of in this bombed-out section of Brooklyn. And he had taken a real interest in forensic work. And so he would analyze bloodstains if he got interested in a case. And so the story from the grapevine was if you could get him interested in the case, then, you had the foremost expert in the world willing to testify, assuming that it came out the way you wanted it to come out. So I wrote him and got an appointment to see him, and took a taxi over this section of Brooklyn I'd never heard of, never seen before. Got through the gates, got into his office, and he had a basement just absolutely packed with detective magazines and things like that. And he sat at his little desk, and I pulled out my underpants, gave them to him, and started analyzing, looking at the fibers, with magnifying glass and all that stuff. He said, you can't prove anything. You can't even, so I could see a slight trace, but it wouldn't be enough to test and all that. So I went back and told Malin Gibson that I probably can't remember his name, but I cut out his who's who, and I'd done all this stuff, and I handed it to Malin Gibson. I said, well, this guy's ready to come from New York to prevent this miscarriage of justice. So we were going to plea bargain. So I went before Moffitt Cummings to present the plea. And Moffitt said, what is this? And Gibson said it was, first degree rape. And, but dropping the charges, dropping it to, I can't remember, something like Conley or something. So Maupin had to, under law, he was supposed to determine whether the plea was factually supported. Maupin asked me to leave the room while he examined my client so that he could find out his factually supported. I said, Judge, I can't leave the room. I'm his lawyer. So I know, but I want to talk about this in front of you.
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah. So that was Maupin. Had a lot of fun with Maupin.
You know,
But anyway, I did some of that.
how did it turn out? What,
He plea bargained. We got him off. There was time served in the county jail. He'd been in the county jail about 2 months.